So hi, Alan. This is Dr. Berg. It's a pleasure to meet you, finally. I've seen you before and after, and I wanted to personally talk to you. So thanks for doing this interview.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I wanted to first just find a little bit about your history, where you came from as far as with your health, your body. And let's just start there. Can you give me a little history of that?
Sure. As a kid, I was actually pretty skinny. As a young kid, I was pretty frail, actually. And even through high school, I probably was 140 pounds when I graduated. It was after high school, say between the ages of 18 and 20 or so, that I started putting on weight. And my dad was actually the one who kind of came to me and said, "Son, you're putting on a little bit of weight. You're getting a little bit of a belly. I'd like for you to go get some blood work done, because it's been, since you were a kid, since you had anything done." And at the age of 20, I was kind of diagnosed with high cholesterol and high triglycerides. And a lot of it was hereditary. My dad had all this as well. And that kind of started a chain of events for the next 20 years of me fighting high cholesterol, high triglycerides, metabolic syndrome, and finally led to severe insulin resistance and good old type 2 diabetes.
Wow. Now, at the time, did your father, or did he get you tested and find, yes, you have a genetic cholesterol problem?
At the time, no, it was just a basic lipid test. As best I can remember, it's been a while.
Since then, did they find that you actually do have a genetic problem? Got it. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in to see what you've done about that. So fast forward, here you are struggling with this thing, you get diabetes. And did you also gain weight at the same time?
By the time I got married at the age of 22, I was 200 pounds. And from there, 20 years later, I ballooned up to 240 on a 5'8" frame. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah. Wow. So here you are in a situation, and it's kind of concerning because you got the whole genetic thing, got your father, and you got diabetes. So at that point, what were you doing, or what did you attempt?
Well, over the years, I went to doctors, and I always had blood work done, and my cholesterol and triglycerides were always elevated, and I was always put on medications. I was never really told, here's the root of your problem as to why you have this, but here's what's elevated, take some medications. And I spent many years taking statins, taking metformin, taking blood pressure medications, and I never seemed to really get better. It was just band-aiding the problem, really.
Oh, I could imagine. Did you have any side effects from statins?
The statins about crippled me. I had the biggest thing I had was muscle fatigue. Picture picking up a garden hose and trying to spray a garden hose. I had such limited strength in my hands. The muscle fatigue was so bad I couldn't squeeze a garden hose. And my back and hips and legs, it was like I was a 70-year-old guy. I had to have my wife sit me up in bed some mornings. It was so bad from the statins.
Wow. And you're like, what, 40-something years old?
I'm 43 now. This was probably, I really got on the statins probably in my 30s, early 30s, I'd say.
That's crazy. So here you're 30 years old, your body's like going down. That's pretty wild. Like personally, when I was 28, I hit my lowest health of my whole life. I also had arthritis in my hands, back, chronic fatigue, couldn't sleep. So I can relate to that. And I'm like, what the heck? I can imagine when I'm going to get 35, I'm going to be probably, it's over.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. So, okay. So then what did you stumble on something that turned things around?
Sort of, yes. Around 2012 or so, I experimented with Atkins a couple times, and I don't think I really knew what I was doing. I just kind of did it, and I was semi-successful in it. I did lose some weight. The first time I lost around 20 pounds, and I never stuck with it and put it all back on plus some. And the second time I did Atkins, I believe, was 2013, 14-ish, and I lost about 30 to 35 pounds. Once again, I never stuck with it. Part of the reason is I didn't know then what I know now, but I wasn't managing insulin. I was starving all the time. And eventually just gave up and put all the weight back on, and there I went to over 240 pounds.
Crazy. So then you're going along, and then what did you do after that?
2016, early 2016, I was in the worst health and shape of my life. I was just, I hurt all over, all my joints hurt. I had no stamina, severe fatigue. I felt like garbage all the time. It just didn't feel good. It was really heavy, couldn't button size 40 pants. And my wife, it was in the spring of 2016, I said, I'm going to go low carb again. I know low carb works. I've had moderate success with it a couple times, but I'm going to make a lifestyle change. I set my mind that I was going to do low carb and stick with it. But it turned out over spring break in March of 16, we were out to dinner with some friends, and it was ironic, it was an old friend from high school. We were just small talking. I said, yeah, I'm going to do Atkins again. He's like, man, don't do Atkins. Do this thing called ketogenic diet. I'm like, keto what? I didn't know what he was talking about. And he's like, listen, it's high fat, moderate protein, low carb. I'm like, but what about my cholesterol and my triglycerides? He's like, the same question that everybody has when they come to it. He's like, don't worry about it. It's not going to clog your arteries. It's not going to make you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Just research it a little bit and give it a try. So yeah, March 21st of 2016, at over 240 pounds, a size 40, I started keto.
Wow.
And weight started melting off.
Now, at that time, did you actually introduce intermittent fasting or not?
I didn't then. I was about a good month or so, maybe 2 months, probably a month or so in to keto. I started intermittent fasting. A friend of mine that I know through one of the keto Facebook groups kind of took me under his wing and helped me with my macros. And he said, with your blood work and your medical situation, you need to get to intermittent fasting as soon as you can. He said, start with 12 hours. 12 hours is easy. Eat dinner, don't have a snack, and go to bed. And you get up, and that's your 12 hours. Start with 12, and then work to 16, and then go from there. So since the day I started intermittent fasting, I have pretty much stuck with it every day. And now, 16 months later, it just comes natural. I go 16 to 18 to 20 hours easily.
And you're not hungry. You're
Yeah.
not craving. Now, how much weight have you lost right now?
I went from, the last time I had weighed, when I officially started, I was 240. I could have been higher at some point. And I dropped as low as 155, so 85 pounds. 155 was actually a little bit too thin for me. So right now I'm about 162. I put a little bit back on in muscle.
How tall are you?
5'8.5".
Okay, that's incredible. So how do you feel energy-wise, cognitive function?
It's incredible. I literally live on 6 hours sleep. I just don't need any more than that. I'm up by 4 to 4:30 every morning. I'm at the gym by 5:30 in the morning. I work out for 90 minutes. I come home and then just do my thing the rest of the day. And then I'm just up and at 'em and going 100 miles an hour till the end of the day.
And then tell me about your diabetes situation. What's up with that?
I actually just had blood work done. When I started with my new diet, around the same time I started keto, I started with a new doctor who is pro keto. I had been on keto for 2 weeks when I started with him. And in that 2 weeks, I had already dropped 20 pounds, which was probably water weight. And I had blood work done then, and everything we expected to be elevated was elevated. Now this doctor, he does the comprehensive lipid panel with the particle test and everything. Well, guess where all my LDL particles were?
Type A?
Sticky ones. They were all the small particles.
Oh, they were. Okay.
So I had blood work done when I started. I had blood work done at 6 months. And at 6 months, my cholesterol had absolutely skyrocketed. My overall was over 350. And thank goodness that he is a pro keto doctor, because he told me, don't worry about it. Stick with keto. Everything's going to be fine. Any other doctor that I had been to for years prior would have slapped me on a statin and said, cut out all this fat that you're eating. Well, at the 9-month mark, I think it was, everything had come back down. My triglycerides were exactly 100 at that point. At one point in my life, and I I would say when I was around 30, my triglycerides were over 1,000 at one point.
Jeez, incredible.
So 9 months into keto, my triglycerides were 100. My overall cholesterol was 350, but the particle test did show that all my LDL particles were in the big fluffy range.
Good. So let me just make a point on people watching this that don't know what you're talking about. There's when you measure LDL, which is considered the bad cholesterol, and a traditional test, they don't differentiate the type A, the type B. Type A is actually totally fine. It's not involved in the artery repair. Type B is small, dense, sticky. It's involved in the reaction to inflammatory response and whatever. So we want a more advanced test, which you got, which it shifted eventually to a type A, which is totally fine. So even though it's high, it's totally okay. Probably because, two things. One is you're burning, as you burn your fat cell, some of that's cholesterol. It's going to come out, it has to come out, and your body's dismantling it. But having a genetic tendency, you don't have the enzyme correctly to dismantle cholesterol like other people. So there's always that little bit of a problem. But you just prove that you can manage it by basically cutting out all the sugar, eating healthy. Interesting.
The pre-keto, I was on metformin twice a day. I was on, I believe it was Crestor, and I was on a blood pressure pill twice a day. And now the only thing I take is a fish oil and magnesium. I have my latest blood work. I just had this done like 2 weeks ago, if I can tell you the numbers real quick. My total cholesterol now is 241. My LDL is 151. My HDL is 70, and triglycerides are 55.
See, triglycerides are probably one of the best indicators, and you're totally fine. You're running on ketones, big time.
I had the particle test done with this as well, and the whole thing is in the large, fluffy category. So it's perfect.
That is so incredible. One question on that. Your father, is he still around?
No, I lost him to heart disease 11 years ago.
Okay. How about, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister, and she has no health issues.
Okay.
I got it all.
Now, just tell me, what do you eat when you eat a meal, and when's the first time you eat?
Well, I usually get up between 4 and 4:30 a.m. and I make coffee, and I usually do, if I'm going to the gym, I do coffee with MCT oil and a splash of cream, and that's my only calories until I get back to the house around 7:30. I do my thing around here, and I usually don't eat until 10:30 or 11. And I don't really call it breakfast. I just call it my first meal. Just happens that I like eggs, so it's usually eggs. And I raise my own chickens and I raise my own ducks for eggs, so I have a endless supply.
Love it.
Free-range eggs. So it's usually, my first meal is usually 3 eggs cooked in whatever fat I decide to use for the day, whether it be olive oil or butter or bacon grease or the good old coconut oil that everybody's reading on the news now. And I usually do a whole avocado and then whatever meat. Like today I had 2 pieces of sausage, an entire avocado, and 3 eggs cooked in coconut oil. And I won't eat again until our family schedule allows us to eat dinner pretty early because my son has a lot of extra stuff after school. So we eat dinner usually between 3 and 4. So I eat basically between 10 and 4, and that's it. I'm done.
I love it. And you don't crave?
Nope.
And you can go without feeling weak?
No weakness at all. As long as I keep my electrolytes up, I'm good.
That is awesome, man. That's such a conflicting piece of data for a lot of people because they're just thinking way over here. They're never going to get there, and you just like flip the whole thing.
Yeah.
Are people like that know you in your past? Are they like, what the heck are you doing? Are they curious? Do they look at you
well,
and like?
It's funny. I have customers where I go to their house and do services, and some of my customers that didn't see me for 6 months or a year during my weight loss journey, first of all, didn't recognize me or thought it was somebody that I had hired to come in my place. They just, at first glance, didn't realize it was me. It's crazy.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, I saw you before and after. I'm like, I got to interview this guy. This is like incredible, incredible. So will you, well, this is a stupid question, but do you think you ever go back to your, the normal? No, of course not.
No, there's no way. The way I feel so good now, and just so much I've learned in the last 16 months of doing this, there's no way I'd go back to a standard American diet. No way at all. I mean, my blood work shows it, and I just, the weight loss and the way I feel, and I'm able to eat this certain way and gain muscle. I'm putting on crazy amounts of muscle while doing it. The whole rumor that, you can't gain muscle on keto is bogus, because I'm living proof of it.
Yeah, and just for people watching, when intermittent fasting, especially if the way he's doing it, you could spike growth hormone by 2,000%. Adding with the exercise that you're doing, you could spike it by another 450%. So you're spiking growth hormone. It's anti-aging. It's preserving your muscles. So, and how old are you now? 43.
43.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And my wife started. She saw me starting to lose weight and said, okay, maybe this is not a gimmick. And she started a month after I did, and she's lost. Last time she mentioned it, she had lost over 80 herself.
Wow.
So we've lost almost 170 collectively.
That is incredible. Incredible.
So yeah, I went from a size 40 that were tight, and I'm in a size 28 jeans now.
So your waist is 28.
Yep.
God, that's incredible. You did really good. So anyway, Al, I really appreciate this interview. A lot of people are going to especially ones that are on cholesterol medication, are going to start researching this.
I hope they do.
Absolutely.
I'm anti-statins. I mean, just what I went through with the pain and the muscle fatigue, and what I know about it now, that it doesn't really do anything for you. There's no scenario where I would take a statin ever again.
It's $1 billion business, and the actual results are so small, and it cuts down all your production of cholesterol, which you need for your hormones and this and that. So, man, I'm so glad you actually stumbled on the whole keto thing, because that turned everything around. And then when did you see my videos? Did you see that in the mix somewhere?
Oh goodness, somewhere. It's been at least over a year. I was just, I do my due diligence and research things, and it's like every time I would Google something, this guy named Dr.Berg's video would come up, and literally, I mean, it's just, you were all over the place, and I've got you set now. Every time a new one is posted, I get an alert. And the thing I like about your videos is they're short and sweet and to the point, and they're easy to understand for the common man out there. And I've shared your videos along with the keto groups that I'm in numerous times. At least 100 times I've shared your videos. So we love them.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to take this so-called complex, and just try to make it as simple as possible.
You do a wonderful job of that.
That's the goal, because, especially in medicine, they have to complicate things and say, oh, it's too complex for you to understand. So no, that's not true. It's
right.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Al, and I appreciate your success story. So we'll do a follow-up maybe in several months from now, just to see how you're doing.
Anytime.
Okay. Thanks, Al. I appreciate it.
Honor to be with you.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.